Go. Welcome again, everybody. This is me, Joel Moskowitz, from the America Israel Cannabis Association, ICA, your host for this conference. Our featured speaker today is Moshe Feiglin. Moshe Feiglin is the founder and chairman of Zehut, the Jewish Identity Party. The core principles of the party are identity, meaning, and liberty. He is a former member of parliament and the former deputy speaker of the Knesset, the Israeli parliament. Speaker Feiglin is well known in Israel for his libertarianism, which has extended to his pro-legalization stance. Speaker Feiglin has sponsored legislation in the parliament for legalization and has fought valiantly against those who tried to weaken those proposals. Welcome, Speaker Feiglin.
Hi, Joe.
Thank you so much. Let me start. In 2013, you proposed a medical marijuana bill in the Knesset, the Israeli parliament, and it was met with a lot of resistance. And then they tried to add conditions to the bill that were unacceptable to you. Can you tell us how that ended up and what happened? And let's take it from there.
Well, I can tell you that the minister today, just in the last month, basically accepted that bill and said he's going to try to pass it. But let's go back a little bit and explain our audience what did the bill say, what was it all about. Believe it or not, what the bill said is that if a doctor who will be trained to treat with medical cannabis will give his patient prescription to medical cannabis, then the patient can go to a drugstore and buy it, get it, with no problem. It is like saying that if the sun is rising, it is noontime right now. Basically, something like that. It's not nighttime. So obvious, simple. They try to say that this bill will cause pressure on the doctors. So I added to it the point where only those doctors who will wish to deal with medical cannabis and will get a specific permission from the authority will learn it, get the permission, meaning the doctors will not have to deal with medical cannabis, only those who will wish to deal with that, and therefore not afraid of this pressure if there is any kind of pressure like that. So it was a very clear, simple bill, and it, as you mentioned, there was a steel wall. I felt like some interests, very strong interests, are standing behind it, and something so simple and so humane, and so on, could not pass in the Knesset. But the logic is still working, and as we see, the Minister of Health, Litzman, just said months ago that he is going to pass it. I feel that those pressure that I dealt with still standing there, but slowly but surely, that wall is crumbling down.
So you talked about the humane aspect of the medical cannabis, and you yourself have a very interesting introduction into it. I read somewhere that it started when your father was critically ill. Can you tell us, because you don't exactly fit the mold of a pro-cannabis politician. You come from, admittedly so, the right of center of Israeli politics, and certainly in the United States end of it, right-wing politicians are generally anti that, except on the extreme libertarian side. So could you tell us how you came about from where you sit politically to being pro-medical cannabis. I understand that you talked about it as being something humane, but how did you specifically come to this?
Well, that is true. My father, alav shalom, in his last days, suffered from strong pain, and he used medical cannabis, and it helped him. I know from close experience, not only from my father, other members of the family, that it helps. I later on in the Knesset, when I dealt with medical cannabis, I saw people that got cured uh, um, uh, by medical cannabis, got cured from cancer. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes. It is not just stories anymore. It is recognized more and more all over the world that this weed can really do miracles in many medicine aspects. Now, probably the problem is that you can't have a patent on it because only God has this patent on that weed, which means it contradicts with some economical interests of big companies and other problems over like that. However, my positive attitude to the whole issue did not come because of my personal experience. It became because of my libertarian ideology. I believe in freedom, and I could not understand why uh, this weed, which is less danger than cigarettes or alcohol, should get such a should be so get such a people see it as you are a Colombian drug dealer, or
Right.
I don't know, dangerous to society, or if you use it. I'm not in favor. I myself not using it. I'm not even taking aspirin for headache. I rather drink a cup of water and go to sleep. But I'm definitely against telling people what to do. I'm aware of of the fear that youth, teenagers, and so on will take it without any limits and so on. So I assume there should be some kind of regulations, just as they are with alcohol before and driving and so on. There should be education. There should be an open understanding of what the limits are and so on. But the situation as it is now is totally wrong from both aspects: liberty, freedom aspect, and medical aspect.
So you're in favor of recreational use as well,
In
in theory.
above the age of 21, only in drugstore, only in certain limit. You do need regulation. I don't like this word, but I understand that with cannabis you do need regulations. Definitely at the beginning, before a development of a culture of responsible use of it. Uh, but what we have today, the 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 complete no, yes, the way the state and the police running after each individual who's using it on a private basis, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you've said, and I quote here: "When everything is illegal, everything becomes permissible."
Right.
And you believe that in the end, it's only the criminals who will benefit from these restrictions on marijuana. Could you elaborate on that? Tell us a little bit what you mean by that.
So when something that we all understand, or wider and wider circles understand, that it's forbidden, it makes no logic. and more people are using it. Exactly as I said, when everything is forbidden, everything it becomes a joke, and prices goes high. The black market is making very great money, uh, and more than that, when every in this environment, real dangerous drugs are getting in as well. When you don't know to put the border between right and wrong, between a good drug and a bad drug, then everything is acceptable already. If I'm already passing the law, why not try heroin and cocaine and things that are really bad? So you have to put the line where it makes sense.
All right. So you've said that God owns the patent on this weed or this plant, and that conflicts with economic interests. And by that, I've read that you believe that to mean big pharmaceutical companies, and Israel does have some large pharmaceutical companies. Um, do you are they the biggest resistance that you have, or do you have social resistance to legalizing cannabis? Is it really big pharmacy that is fighting you on this?
Well, I don't want to put my finger directly on that company or other company, and of course there's also a social resistance from those who got used to think uh, the way they were taught to think in the last 80, 90 years. Okay. However, the fact is that this little weed can replace maybe quarter or a third of those medicines that we all have somewhere in our
Medicine cabinet.
bathrooms. All the painkillers and others, uh, and you just do the calculation what it means to those companies.
So we spoke to an attorney who's who's presented here as well, and they specifically, at least in the United States, are dealing with patents and trademarks as they relate to the cannabis industry, and apparently there is intellectual property in how you blend the seeds and how you make different strains and things like that. Um, are you afraid, or would you welcome pharmaceutical companies getting involved in legal cannabis and distributing it and doing research to create strains that would help patients, or do you think that their involvement in this will take away the freedom um, for people to get access to it and have a better choice or bigger choice of what kind of cannabis they use?
Well, of course, I welcome it with open arms. I have no problem of individuals and companies making money. Uh, exactly the opposite. As more money that they'll be able to make, more a kind of medicine and opportunities to use this unbelievable weed, as we call it, will be developed. In Israel, by the way, the research around the medical cannabis is phenomenal, and they already know how to grow certain kind of cannabis and to fit it to different disease. And if you can make patent on it, and everybody can have their benefits of it from it, of course it is very good. It's not about avoiding companies of making money. It's about making accessible to the public.
I see. So interesting. In researching our talk today, I read a opinion piece that you wrote in Yediot Achronot or Ynet in 2012, and you framed supporting legalization as a Jewish issue, as well as an issue of freedom, and you linked the two together. Judaism being affiliated with freedom, freedom from that started when the Hebrews were saved by God from the Egyptians and so on. So you consider it a Jewish issue. Um, could you elaborate on that as it being, a Jewish theological, cultural issue? Because I tend to think that there are a lot of people who disagree with you, and certainly about recreational use.
Look, it is very interesting. Actually, I didn't think you'll get into that subject, but it is definitely interesting. The concept of Judaism, basic concept of Judaism, is freedom. You talking to me from the United States of America, and where did the founding fathers took their ideas from when they came up with these ideas of liberty? They brought it from the Bible, from the exile of Egypt, from the Hebrew prophets, and so on. The concept of freedom is the foundation of Judaism, the understanding that we don't rule each other. No one is slave to other human being because we all the sons of the Almighty, the one and only God above. The message of freedom came to world through our nation, the Jewish nation. Judaism is not just a religion; it's a culture of a people in their homeland, and it's the light, definitely a light of freedom to all the nations. And therefore, when I get to a subject like that, it is obviously that our basic freedom of choice, freedom to live our life the way we understand being responsible to our own life, take responsibility to our own life. When in that issue of cannabis, when our basic freedom is being taken away, I see it as a contradiction to my basic Jewish belief.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. I think that it's very enlightening to everyone listening, and I'm sure it's probably the first time they've heard of the freedom to get access to cannabis as a religious or people's nation's values. So I want to thank you very much for your presentation today,
You're
and
welcome.
keep up the good work. And we look forward to having you again at a future event. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.